For the somatic bridge, we start by taking a few arch and flatten. So inhaling, allowing the lower back to arch, pelvis tipping slightly forwards. And as you exhale, let everything sink into the floor and then draw the belly in. Let the tailbone tuck slightly in as the pubic bone comes up towards the ribs. Then release back to neutral. Take a pause. Inhale, let the pelvis roll slightly forwards towards the toes. Little weight in the tailbone, small arch of the back. Exhale and slowly release, let it melt back to the floor. And as the back melts into the floor, draw the abdominals in so the belly sinks, the pelvis tilts up in towards the ribs. Release with an inhale and melt everything to the floor. So one more time. Inhale and arch. Sense the lower back arching up. Sense the pelvis pressing gently forwards and down into the mat. And as you exhale, drawing the belly in, melting the spine onto the floor. And then slowly releasing. So this time we begin the bridge with a very small mini bridge. So we inhale, take that arch, pressing the tailbone down and forwards. And as we exhale, sense the back of the body, the spine melting into the floor. Tuck the tailbone in and lift just enough for the pelvis to raise an inch or so off the floor. And then slowly melt it back down. How slowly can you release your pelvis? So once again, when you're ready, inhale and arch through the lower back, pressing down gently with the tailbone. Exhale and begin to melt the spine back into the floor, tailbone tucks, gently lifting up with the pelvis and lifting just the lower lumbar region. And then slowly melting it back down vertebrae by vertebrae, sensing each part of the spine and then the pelvis melt into the floor. Switch it off. Let go, take a resting breath. So we take that a little higher. Inhale, arching, slight rock of the pelvis forwards. Exhale, sink the belly. Begin to peel up the tailbone, the sacrum, the lumbar spine, lifting up into the thoracic spine, sensing the ribs just peeling up and off, and then slowly melting each part down bit by bit, sensing the vertebrae one by one melting into the mat. And once the tailbone has melted down and the whole spine's released, switch everything off. Preparing once more, inhaling and arching, feeling that slight rock of the pelvis forwards, melting the spine down, rocking the pelvis in, raising tailbone, sacrum, lumbar spine, thoracic spine, and sensing that place that's as far as is comfortable to go, and then begin the descent bit by bit, like the chain of a bike coming down slowly, slowly, slowly. And if there are any areas that don't melt straight away, that feel like they come down as a block, you can reverse back up to just before and then release slowly down. 2 or 3 times if you want to over each area until it feels like you can smoothly release the whole spine down by itself. So this time we're going to do the same as before. Inhale and tip the pelvis slightly forwards, and exhale, melt the spine. all the way through the center of the spine, lifting up. Pause at the top and tilt your pelvis so the right buttock drops ever so slightly, so it's at a tilt, and melt the spine down with a tilted pelvis so that you sense more on the whole of the right side melting down to the floor bit by bit. Noticing how much of the spine is softening and melting to the floor. Noticing if there are any areas that feel tight. Smooth the movement out if you can. And then switch off and release. Let's have a look at doing that on the opposite side. Inhaling and arching, exhaling and beginning to melt the spine, and then lift slowly from tailbone up to the top and tilt the pelvis this time to the left. Slowly melt down to sense the left side of the spine more. And again, like before, if there are any areas that feel like they're not fully releasing, reverse back just before it and then release again 2 or 3 times over those areas, and then melt all the way down and switch everything off. So it's as if each time you reverse and then melt again, you're ironing out any little creases or any little tightness areas of the spine. So the final time, once you have done that bridge with a right tilt to the pelvis and a left tilt to the pelvis, finally inhale and arch. Exhale and melt the spine into the floor. And then begin right from the tailbone, tucking in, belly sinking, lifting sacrum, lumbar, thoracic spine up to the point where it feels comfortable for you. And then begin to melt centrally down the spine, sensing both the left and the right side as the vertebrae meet the mat slowly, softly, all the way through thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, tailbone, and then switch everything off. Let the feet begin to release out. Take a moment then to notice how the spine rests onto the floor with the legs out long. What's different now from the beginning of the practice?